Tonight on NewsWatch, unrest in Ukraine. Will the threat of new Russian sanctions do anything to ease tensions?
Plus, Christians killed in Afghanistan. Why one man's family says they aren't mad at the Afghan people.
And violence taking place where you least expect it, inside American churches. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. The U.S. and Europe are considering further targeted sanctions on Russia and warning that they'll sanction broad sectors of the Russian economy if Moscow invades eastern Ukraine.
The threats come as Russia gears up new military exercises near the Ukrainian border. Heather Sells has tonight's top story.
Just over a week ago, Russia signed an agreement with the U.S., Ukraine, and Europe to ease the crisis. But so far, Moscow hasn't followed through on any of its commitments, like calling on pro-Russia forces to leave the buildings they're occupying in eastern Ukraine.
The people don't want the illegitimate government of Kiev. We will continue to rise any way we can.
Russia also still has tens of thousands of troops along the Ukrainian border and announced new military exercises this week. Ukraine's interim prime minister has accused Moscow of trying to start World War III.
All the responsibility for aggression on Ukrainian territory and for undermining international security and stability rests with the leadership of the Russian Federation.
The prime minister believes, as many do, that Russia wants to thwart Ukraine's upcoming presidential election and ultimately seize Ukraine both militarily and politically. The crisis has followed President Obama on his trip to Asia, where he discussed the stakes for Russian President Vladimir Putin.
There's going to come a point at which he's got to make a fundamental decision. Is he willing to see the Russian economy that was already weakened further, or is he going to use military force and the kind of destabilizing activities that we've seen so far?
A top Democratic senator visiting Ukraine says more financial penalties are in the works.
There are dozens of banks in Russia. There are billions of Russian assets and dollars in U.S. banks, and we ought to go after that.
The U.S. is also starting its own military exercises along Ukraine's western border. Heather Sells, CBN News.
And for more on the situation in Ukraine, we turn now to senior international correspondent George Thomas. And George, you've recently spent some time over there. George, what's the likelihood of a direct armed military confrontation between Russia and Ukraine?
Yeah, the possibility as the days go on, I think the possibility is very real. There's a town in the eastern part of Ukraine that has been, in essence, for the last 2 weeks, in full control of pro-Russian separatists, and the Ukrainians have gone in, they've surrounded the town, and they're trying to retake it. And Russia says, look, any threats, any military action against this group would be considered, in essence, an act of war. And so there are these two sides are exchanging these heated rhetoric, and that is the concern. That's the concern going down the road.
Well, do you think that the threat of more sanctions will cause Russia to possibly back down?
Yeah, Putin has said in the last 72 hours that the sanctions that have been in place so far in the last 4 weeks are beginning to hurt. But look, the next round of sanctions, which the president has threatened to levy, it has to go, in order to feel the pinch, it has to go against the banks, the mining industry, the oil industry. That's really where Russia begins to hurt and feel the pressure, because there are billions of dollars worth of currency in banks, in Russian banks, and a lot of that money has access in Russia as well.
George, some U.S. lawmakers actually want to arm the Ukrainians. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, Senator John McCain has for several months been talking about this, asking the United States to help in this effort. Recently, Carl Levin, the senior Democrat from the state of Michigan, has also said, listen, we need to consider sending lethal force, some kind of military equipment and, tactics, logistics, and so forth.
Can I just ask, do you think that's a good idea?
You know, I mean, the reality is that when Ukraine does not have the manpower nor the military equipment to go up against the Russians. They have 4 times the amount of troops. The equipment is so much more sophisticated than what the Ukrainians have. And that's the challenge. It's not a fair fight.
Okay, and real quick, Ukraine is scheduled to hold their presidential elections next month. Do you think that'll happen?
I think Russia would want nothing more than the elections not to happen because it legitimizes the situation. It legitimizes a new government, and that's what they would like not to happen.
All right, George Thomas, we appreciate your insights, as always.
You're welcome, ma'am.
3 American doctors died in an attack on a Christian hospital in Afghanistan Thursday. Now the widow of one of the victims is speaking out, and she has a message for the man who killed her husband. Caitlin Burke has the story.
Dr. Jerry Umanos loved the Afghan people. He'd been working in the country for the last 7 years through the Christian organization Cure International. His wife says it was his calling.
He always had a desire to be the hands and feet of Christ. He was always a light for Christ, and he had a love and commitment that he expressed for the Afghan people because of that love for Christ.
The Cure International Hospital was founded in 2005 by invitation of the Afghan Health Ministry, and it treats about 37,000 patients a year. 2 years ago, Dr. Umanos spoke about the lives the hospital has helped save.
Most of these kids here would be dead. There's very few other facilities that can take care of kids this small and do well.
His wife says her husband would want others to open their hearts to the Afghan people, just as he did. And she offered a message of forgiveness to the gunman.
Our family has suffered a great loss. We don't hold any ill will towards Afghanistan in general, or even the gunman who did this.
Investigators are still trying to find a motive for the shooting. The gunman was taken into custody after being treated by the very hospital he attacked.
He shot himself after the attack. He was initially treated at the Cure Hospital and has now been transferred out of our facility into the custody of the government of Afghanistan.
Along with Dr. Umanos, 2 other American doctors, a father and son, were also killed, and a female healthcare worker was injured.
Please join us in praying for the families of the victims and those affected by the shooting, as well as the peace in Afghanistan.
Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Although a motive in the Afghanistan shooting hasn't been confirmed, many people believe the attack happened because the victims were Christians. But that might not be the case. Dale Brantner is the CEO of Cure International, and he tells CBN News the attack may have been politically charged.
In regards to motive, it would just be speculation at this point. We're working with the Afghan authorities, and we're not trying to really speculate what the motive could be. If you were asking what my gut is, I would guess that it's more politically motivated. Cure has operated in Afghanistan for the last 12 years, just getting established there shortly after 9/11, 2001. And we've been able to function there openly as a Christian entity. And we've never had anything quite like this occur before.
To hear more from that interview with Dale Brantner, make sure you visit our website, cbnnews.com.
North Korea will face more sanctions from the U.S. if it launches a 4th nuclear test. That's the warning coming from President Obama today, along with his South Korean counterpart. The president also says it is important to look at new ways to pressure North Korea to dismantle its nuclear program. Mr. Obama's South Korea visit comes during a time of mourning for the Asian nation. Rescue crews are still struggling to recover bodies from last week's sunken ferry. So far, 183 bodies have been found, but 119 are still missing.
This Sunday, Pope Francis will oversee an historic event in the Catholic Church. 2 popes will become saints, Pope John XXIII and Pope John Paul II. Vatican observers say Pope Francis approved the 2 popes for simultaneous sainthood to signal Catholics of different views are welcome in the Church. Pope John XXIII served from 1958 to 1963. He's known for his modernizing reforms, and John Paul stood as a symbol of faith and freedom for his homeland of Poland, caught in the grip of communism.
John Paul II always said that he was not Superman who let the communism fall. He said the tree was rotten. I just shook the tree.
Many also remember John Paul as the first truly global pope. He visited more than 120 countries, the most ever for a pope.
Coming up, how Operation Blessing is working to protect kids from sex trafficking at this year's World Cup.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
I have a son who's extremely smart and sensitive. He went to heaven. I came back.
One true story has become a worldwide sensation.
You saw heaven? It's beautiful.
Now, Heaven is for Real is a profoundly beautiful movie.
They don't believe me, do they?
Some people might be afraid to believe.
That will help many to believe.
Is heaven a hope or as real as the earth and sky?
A perfect family film. Heaven is for Real. Rated PG.
I was having some pains between my shoulder blades. At that point, everything changed. Diagnosis, pancreatic cancer. First, there was prayer. The second is to fight. As soon as we walked through those doors at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, all my anxiety left. The pastoral care here is based on the Bible, based on the Word of God, just as it is at our own church.
When you combine the great medicine with the spiritual resources we have, it provides the patients with something that really can make a difference.
You got a pastor right there on staff praying with patients, whether it be scripture or whether it just be a word of encouragement to say, God's got this.
If you or someone you love is fighting complex or advanced stage cancer, go to cancercenter.com/faith. You'll learn how our treatment results compare to national averages and see a list of insurance plans with which we've worked. Advanced medicine and technology, the warm embrace of the Spirit.
I firmly believe God led me here.
Call or go to cancercenter.com. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits. Appointments available now.
I have a son who's extremely smart and sensitive. He went to heaven. I came back.
One true story has become a worldwide sensation.
You saw heaven? It's beautiful.
Now, Heaven is for Real is a profoundly beautiful movie.
They don't believe me, do they?
Some people might be afraid to believe.
That will help many to believe.
Is heaven a hope or as real as the earth and sky?
A perfect family film. Heaven is for Real. Rated PG.
The Nigerian government is vowing to find the nearly 200 girls reportedly abducted by Boko Haram. The Islamic extremist group hasn't taken responsibility, but most blame them for kidnapping about 230 teenagers from a school located in Borno State. Around 40 girls managed to escape. A group of security chiefs, state governors, and religious leaders met today to discuss finding the others. The Nigerian president calls it the most pressing security issue facing his country. No doubt about that. Well, Nigeria isn't the only dangerous place for girls. The World Cup kicks off in Brazil this June, and they worry over sex trafficking at the soccer event that it may be growing.
Yeah, the concerned sex tourists will abuse thousands of young people and children literally in the shadows of stadiums.
But as Heather Sells reports, Operation Blessing is there working to fight this abuse with a new documentary.
Brazil hopes to attract more than 500,000 fans for this summer's World Cup and take in billions of tourism dollars. Unfortunately, sex traffickers hope that an already profitable market there will prove even more lucrative this year. Their perverse business model links world-class soccer with child sexual exploitation.
You can go online and see like $12,000, $10,000 for the flight, the hotel, the game, and the girl.
Many believe that showing tourists and Brazilians the dangers of child trafficking is the best way to fight it before the World Cup. That's the idea behind a documentary that Operation Blessing is releasing next month.
We're trying to raise the stigma against this and educate the people coming in for the World Cup that this isn't just a service you can buy without consequences, that these are children trapped in a hell.
To raise that stigma, the filmmakers hope to reach families. Thanks to a hyper-sexualized culture, views on sexuality have become warped.
We see kids talking at 12, 11, that if you haven't lose your virginity when you're 12 or 11, something's wrong with you. I see many cases of mothers being like selling their daughters to neighbors, on the streets, taking them to the street, teaching them kind of the business to survive.
Traverso says this twisted mindset combined with poverty created the perfect storm in Brazil, which now carries an international reputation for child sex trafficking.
Look at the problem, over 500,000 children in prostitution. Some reports say over 1 million children in prostitution.
Operation Blessing hopes to air its documentary on Brazilian national television and will also produce a short video for airlines bringing World Cup fans to the games. It's also working with other ministries to directly reach fans at the venues and speak out against the tragedy of trafficking. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Up next, a look at the growing need to keep churches safe.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. If you are on Medicare and have knee pain, don't wait. You may qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost. Friendly agents are standing by 24/7 to help you. Call the Health Hotline right now for details toll-free. Our friendly representatives are standing by now to take your call. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. You may be eligible to receive these items and more at little or no cost to you as well. Call right now for details toll-free.
Operators are standing by. Call 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143. Again, 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
You don't go to church thinking you could be the victim of a violent attack, but it happens more often than you might think. And Jimmy Meeks is a police officer and an ordained minister who travels the country showing churches how to keep their congregations safe. Welcome, Jimmy.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. An important topic. Now, you say there are 3 kinds of people in the world: sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs.
Yes.
What's the role of the sheepdog?
Well, the sheep is the sheep. They just love peace, and that's fine. They just want things nice and quiet, and we all do. But unfortunately, there's a wolf that will attack sheep. But even more, fortunately, there's a sheepdog that will defend the sheep and take on the wolf, and that's what a sheepdog does.
And you say that we need to have sheepdogs in our congregations.
Yes, sir. We need to have them everywhere. I mean, no place is safe anymore, Mark, but we certainly need them in church, and there are reasons for that.
Why is that? I understanding the statistics are staggering.
Well, they are, Mark, and most people don't know. But we're up to at least 473 confirmed violent deaths on church and faith-based property since 1999. And that number is equal to, or maybe slightly ahead of, the number of violent deaths that occur at schools that we hear about what seems like weekly. But and already this year, we've had ministers beaten to death. We've had people shot coming out of church. 4 kids were shot at a church playground in North Carolina a few weeks ago. There's a lot of violence going on church and faith-based property. And that doesn't even take into account the fact that we have somewhere between 50 to 100 reports a week of sex crimes that are occurring on church and faith-based property.
Why are we not hearing about this?
Well, thanks to CBN now, we are hearing about that. But I guess it's not as dramatic maybe as the schools, but I think when people start looking into it, they are stunned that there have been some terrible deaths. I mean, I was married in a church 34 years ago where a man walked in, shot 15, killed 5 people. I'm down the road from Wedgwood Baptist where 14 were shot, 7 killed in 1999. In 15 minutes from my house, I live in Texas, Fort Worth area. A year and a half ago, a preacher was attacked inside his church and beaten to death with a guitar.
Wow.
So these things are happening. In 2013, we had a death in a church and faith-based property every 8 days, and every 2.5 days, a violent incident occurring on church and faith-based property.
Well, what is the most common type of violence in a church?
Of those deaths that I mentioned to you, over 470, it's going to be closer to 500 now, too, because we haven't updated 2014. But the most common one we see is probably domestic violence. A man is mad at his wife. A church in Louisiana a couple of years ago, he simply went to the church, he pulled her out in the parking lot and shot her dead. We see that a lot. These guys get angry and they just don't care where their wife is. So churches need to be aware if you're having domestic violence in your church, and you do have it somewhere. You know, church people do good at covering things up sometimes. You need to be aware of these things, and you just need to be ready. You need to be prepared.
And I remember hearing about that church in Colorado where that female security guard shot at a perpetrator at church. Mm-hmm. And I know this is such an important topic, and you give seminars on this for churches to learn about safety and security. Talk about what you teach at these seminars.
Well, in that church in New Life, I'm good friends with David Works. David was shot at that church that day. 2 of his 4 daughters were shot and killed. And it's a heartbreaking, tear-jerking situation. My friend Carl Chin, who is with us in our seminars, he is an expert on this stuff. He was face to face with the gunman right before that ex-police officer came out and shot. Matthew Murray was the killer in that situation. But the main thing we tell churches, Mark, is that it's easy to know what to do if you can get beyond being blind about what's happening. The thing we run across is that churches are more superstitious than they are spiritual. They actually think, well, we're safe. We're in the house of God. And that is the biggest obstacle we run across. And that's simply not true because Jesus has warned us. You'll be harmed in the house of worship. So what we try to do at the seminars is we wake them up to that. We like to brag, if we can, that we have a 100% conversion rate. Nobody will leave one of our seminars. Carl Chin is there. Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman is there. And nobody leaves wondering, should we do anything? I mean, our country is in a season of violence. We need the sheepdogs to stand up, and they're ready. We're eager. We don't want to hurt nobody. We're not violent. We love Jesus. I mean, I'm a God nut, not a gun nut. I love the Lord, and this is the effect He has on me. Is we want to protect people.
Yes.
We want this violence to stop. Psalms 11:5 says the Lord hates violence. He hates it.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy, for your time today. We really appreciate it. Once again, Jimmy Meeks, he's traveling the country talking about safety and security with churches and houses of worship. And you can find out more about his safety seminars by going to cbnnews.com for a link to his ministry, Sheepdog Seminars for Churches. Jimmy, thanks again for being with us. God bless you,
It's an honor, sir. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, sharing Christ through clothes. We explain when we come back.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. If you're on Medicare and have knee pain, don't wait. You may qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost. Friendly agents are standing by 24/7 to help you. Call the Health Hotline right now for details toll-free. Our friendly representatives are standing by now to take your call. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. You may be eligible to receive these items and more at little or no cost to you as well. Call right now for details toll-free.
Operators are standing by. Call 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143. Again, 855-740-8143. That's 855-740-8143.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Welcome back. A Virginia father and son have been inspired to start a line of Christian athletic clothes.
Yeah, its mission is to encourage believers to live boldly for Jesus Christ every day. Charlene Aaron has that story.
Jake Natale has been a competitive baseball player since he was just a little boy. His passion for the sport is surpassed only by his Christian faith, which he joyfully lives out every day.
My faith has always been a big part of my life. So, to share, the greatest part of your life is very important to me. And, everything that I do and everything that I have, it's all because of God.
He's a kid that was always the one that would share his faith boldly. I remember, coaching him as a 13-year-old boy, and in the dugout, I look over there and he's witnessing, sharing, Christ with one of the players.
To display his faith even more publicly, Jake came up with the idea of a line of Christian athletic apparel with the hope of reaching his athlete peers with the gospel.
I wanted to wear something that, performed and, I could express my faith with it too.
The line includes t-shirts, hoodies, and other sports products, with the motto, Everyday Soldier, taken from Ephesians 6 in the Bible.
Playing baseball, I had to work out, I had to go to practice, had to do that, it's every day. So, and it's the same thing with your faith.
It's a message that scores even with non-athletes, like 16-year-old Michael Schiavo.
I was born with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a disease that causes my muscles to slowly waste away over time, making me grow weaker. I focus on God's promises, and I have hope. My weakness has taught me to trust Him completely.
Jake and his dad had hoped to get a celebrity endorsement for their sports line, but soon discovered Michael fit the bill.
What we've seen about Michael is he's never discouraged. He's always got a smile on his face. He's got tremendous challenges in his life, but yet he remains positive, and his faith is so evident. And we've just learned to love the spirit of this young man.
Michael's story is inspiring other everyday soldiers around the country while helping to drive sales.
We're selling, when we go to events, we sell thousands. Our online business is picking up on the heels of awareness. People are coming back and wanting, we have a lot of repeat customers. It's a brand that connects at a very deep level to the believer. And we're just real happy that, folks are coming back and wanting more.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
I like to get the red one.
Yeah,
I like
I
that
saw
every
you
day.
liking
So
that.
I know. I was like, I like that because that's one of my favorite colors. But
Yeah, what a great motto. Everyday soldier. That's what we are.
We are soldiers in the army of the living God, Mark.
That's right. We can all make a difference in our spheres of influence.
That's right. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of NewsWatch.
Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.
Good night.